All right, today we're talking about a retirement plan that, well, you've probably never heard of anything like it. This is a story about a 10-year real-life experiment. And the goal? It was to achieve one of the oldest spiritual aims of humanity, real, lasting peace. So let me ask you this. What if, when you hit retirement, that golden age of supposed rest, instead of picking up golf clubs or booking a cruise, you decided to conduct a radical, decade-long experiment on your own mind? The goal? Nothing less than the complete purification of your consciousness. Sounds pretty out there, right? But as you're about to see, this is a true story. And yeah, that's not just some philosophical what if. We're digging into the actual story of a retired civil servant who, at 50 years old, did exactly that. He literally set out on a path that most of us, well, we've only ever read about it in old books. Okay, so what does a retirement plan, this radical, actually look like? It means throwing out the old playbook and completely rethinking what that next chapter of your life is all about. Yeah, he basically traded in the typical script of relaxation and leisure for a 10-year quest. His mission wasn't about seeing the world, but about mapping the inner landscape of his own mind. And the goal was, you guessed it, a total transformation. And the target he set for himself? It was nothing less than what's known as Nirvana. Now, let's be clear. We're not just talking about some temporary feeling of happiness. This is about extinguishing the inner fires, greed, anger, confusion, that cause all our suffering. The result? A profound, unshakable peace. But you've got to be wondering, how could a regular person even try to do this? And this is a really crucial part of the story. The key was his stable government pension. Look, it wasn't a fortune by any means, but it was enough to cover the basics. And that financial foundation, it was everything. It freed him up from the day-to-day grind, letting him live this simple, incredibly focused life, dedicated to just one thing. All right, so he had the why and he had the how. He had the motivation and the means. But what did the actual blueprint for this 10-year experiment look like? The whole timeline is actually pretty straightforward. It starts at age 50. That's when he makes a decision, he commits. Then for the next 10 years, it's just intense, nonstop practice. And then at age 60, the experiment wraps up. And what it reveals is a profound, fundamental change. So when we say practice, what did that actually mean day in and day out for a whole decade? Because let me tell you, it was a lot more than just sitting on a meditation cushion for an hour a day. Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. His training ground wasn't some remote monastery. It was just daily life. Every single thing he did, eating, walking, even talking, he turned it into a moment of practice. We're talking about a 24/7, round-the-clock commitment to rewiring his own mind.
And his method was built on this classic 3-step foundation: charity, morality, and what's called mental training. So let's break down what each of those pillars actually looks like in real life.
So first up is charity, or dana. He lived super frugally on that pension and just gave the rest away. But this wasn't just about being a good person. It was a form of psychological training. The whole point was to loosen the mind's attachment to stuff, to develop a sense of lightness and non-attachment. The second pillar was morality, or sila. This meant he committed to a really strict code of ethics. Basically, harmlessness in everything he did, said, and even thought. And the result of that? A mind that's completely free from guilt, from remorse, from all that internal static. By clearing that out, he created this incredibly stable, peaceful foundation he needed for the really deep work. And finally, we get to the third pillar, mental training, or bhavana. And really, this was the absolute heart of the whole experiment. This is where, through meditation and just constant moment-to-moment mindfulness, he trained his awareness to watch his own mind and the world around him with total clarity. To just see things exactly as they are, without all the usual stories we tell ourselves. So, okay, 10 years go by. A full decade of charity, morality, and this relentless mental training. The big question is, what was the result? What does a mind even look like after an experiment like that? Well, at age 60, the experiment comes to an end. And the person who started this journey 10 years before, He's been fundamentally, deeply changed. This comparison here, it really gets to the core of what changed. I mean, think about a typical mind. Think about our minds, right? We get tossed around by pleasure and pain, we're often clouded by our emotions, and let's be honest, we're usually focused on me, me, me. The transformed mind, though, it's described as being incredibly stable, guided by crystal clear wisdom, and filled with a real, selfless compassion for others. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The mind becomes unshakable, like a mountain unmoved by the storms of life. I mean, just stop and think about what that really means. A mind that can face any of life's storms, loss, criticism, success, failure, with the solid, calm stability of a mountain. That's a powerful picture of what true inner strength looks like. So, just to be super clear, the result here wasn't just feeling good sometimes. It was more like a complete rewrite of his mind's entire operating system. The key results were, first, clear wisdom, that ability to see reality as it is, which came directly from all that mental training. Second, pure compassion, where all that me-first thinking just dissolves and is replaced by a genuine care for others. That's a direct result of the practice of charity. And maybe the most profound of all, true inner freedom, a liberation from the constant hamster wheel of craving and attachment that drives so much of our lives. So, what does this one person's incredible story really mean for the rest of us? Well, I think it points towards something really powerful, something deeply hopeful. Maybe the biggest takeaway is this, that deep, profound freedom from all our inner turmoil, it's not just some myth for ancient gurus or monks living in caves. This story suggests it's a real, tangible possibility for a regular person, provided they have the dedication and the right setup. It's an incredible testament to what we're capable of. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This man, he chose to spend his 10 years mastering his own mind. So if you had that same shot, a whole decade, where your basic needs were totally taken care of, to achieve true mastery in just one thing, what would you pick?